Hello and welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. Right, we're going to do pads front and back on a 2009 Ford Focus. I'm going to do them in the same video because it shouldn't take too long. Now, can anyone guess why I might need a broken Phillips screwdriver to work on these Fords? Don't know why Ford do this. They need to change it because Jesus Christ, I love Ford, I really do. But this is a joke. I don't know why they do this. Ford bolts that hold on the wheel look fine, but they have these stupid caps on that get broke, get damaged, they come off. Ford, stop this. It's ridiculous. No one likes it. A simple wheel stud bolt, you think, oh yeah, that's no problem. But look what happens. These stupid caps fall off, which then makes this like an 18.5mm bolt, which is fucking stupid. This is then no good. This gets stuck in the socket. You need the screwdriver to go inside the socket to push it out. It's ridiculous. And they're shit. Absolute shit. So Ford, stop putting them on your cars. Stop putting stupid French engines in your cars and everyone will be happy. You'll sell more and then send me the check of the profit that you sell a lot more cars. All right? Sorted. Right. So we'll crack on. What we're going to do is, like I said, pads front and pads on the back. Straightforward, simple enough. You don't particularly need anything special apart from the back. They are wind back, so you do need a wind back tool, but you don't need to go mega expensive with wind back tools. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off this anti-rattle clip. And the best way to do it is get a little screwdriver. I've just got a little lever bar here, and you just get it in behind and you very gently lever it off. Once you've got one side off, the other side just comes off. Really nice and simple. Now, it's a thing I always forget to put back, but you do need to put it back. But not only that, sometimes they can actually seize inside the caliper. So if that happens, what I suggest you do, if you can only get one side off, just get one side off. Because if you try and pull it too much, this end snaps, which then snaps inside the caliper, which just causes you an absolute nightmare because you have to then drill it out and get a new one of these. And to drill it out is a nightmare. So just be careful with these. A good bit, if you're worried, just put some WD around them and leave them for 5-10 minutes before you go near it. Next thing we need to do is, hopefully the camera's going to show these two little rubber end caps, which look like that. Take them off, and that's protect the 7mm Allen key to take the caliper off. But before we take the caliper off, we want to push back the piston. Now, I prefer to push back the piston when it's on. It's just a little bit easy. You don't have to. You can use loads of things to push back the piston, but I just prefer to use it when it's on the car because it's a lot easier. So I'm going to get a screwdriver. Now, I'm going to do this because I'm not worried about damaging the pads. If you're worried about damaging the pads and you're not changing them, I wouldn't use this method. So what I'm going to do is wedge it in there. I don't know if the camera's going to show this, but the piston is going back. Once it goes back enough, hit the caliper forward. I can now get the screwdriver between the disc and the pad and just push it back nice and simple, as we can see, just like that. So that's sorted. The piston should go back nice and easy like that. If it doesn't, you've got a problem. You could have a problem with the rubber. You could have this caliper could be seized. So you want to make sure it goes back nice and easy. So I'm just using a 3/8 ratchet with a 7mm Allen key on the end. I'm using a short extension because on this side the brake line gets in the way. So the short extension just helps you clear past the brake line. Might help if I go the right way. So we're going to loosen both of them first before I take any of them off. Right, what you always want to do is, even if you're not changing your calipers, or even if you're not changing your pads or your disc, but you're taking them off, take that off and clean it. Because you see all that kind of crappy, cruddy, it's grease, it's muck, it's all sorts of shit from the road. That's what your caliper slides up and down on. And if that seizes, that can do just as much damage as a seized caliper. And it can destroy your new pads, it can destroy your disc, it can destroy everything. So definitely clean it. The way I clean it is just a wire brush. I've got a bench grinder and I just put it on the wire brush. You can see what it looks like there to what it looks like there. Now, You have to grease these up, but don't use copper grease, because copper grease has bits in it, and as this slides up and down, you're going to damage the rubber that goes inside the caliper. You're also going to pit this, and you're going to be in serious trouble. I use moly grease, which is designed for CV joints. It's really good grease. It's designed for high temperatures, and also, most importantly, it doesn't compact and go hard like the cheaper grease. It is really good grease. And it goes without saying, once you've done one side, do the other side, regardless. Always change. If you're changing one disc, change two discs. Do not just change one thing on the car. We're not changing this time, we don't need to, but we are doing pads on the other side. Now we are doing pads on the back. Now again, it's only because we need to. If you only need pads on the front, leave your ones on the back. But whatever you do, do both sides. You don't want to risk it for a biscuit. So what I'm going to do is just get the caliper. We can actually rest the caliper there. Normally what I would do is put the caliper in this bungee cord and just get it out of the way, which I'm going to do now as well, just in case. Because what happens is if it falls, it could break your line. It could do all sorts of damage. Now, as you can see, nothing wrong with the old pads. There's a little bit of life left in them, but not much. It wouldn't take much to wear that down and then start damaging your disc. There might be a couple of thousand miles in this, but the problem is you might not catch it in time, and then you're going to have to buy discs, and it's going to cost you 4 times as much. So just kind of bite the bullet, get rid of them, and do it now. Second one, actually, with these little clips, goes inside the caliper. So what I want to do is give this a really good wire brush in there on all 4 sides. Lovely. And what I'm going to do is just be very careful now. I'm going to paint a bit of copper grease. You don't want to touch the disc. If you touch the disc, it's not the end of the world, but you want to wipe it off. So just put a bit of copper grease in there just to help the pad slide. It's no harm. Now normally what I do is I just butter the ends, just the little ends of them, to where it goes in. And the reason why I do that is when you put your finger on there, you don't want to transfer grease onto the back. But because this goes inside the caliper, I have to grease it all up before I put it in. You just have to be a little bit more careful the way you do it so you don't get grease everywhere. And then literally it just pushes inside. Simple as that. And as you can see, I've got grease on my hands, so you want to be careful you don't transfer it onto your pad. But with this one, I'm just going to butter up the ends, just like that. Sorted. Put it in there, and now I can actually paint her up. Now again, if you've got the piston back enough, this should just slot straight on nice and easy, and as it does. Now, you want to make sure that your brake line here isn't twisted, isn't pulled, isn't anything wrong, and you're really done. Now this is the moly grease. It actually looks like it's bad old grease, kind of a grey blacky colour, but it's not, it's good. And shove it back in. Same with the other pin. Just butter it up, slot it in. It's always good to have lube, because lube helps. Especially when you're going into tight holes, and especially when you can't see very well, it helps. And stop thinking that way. Right, so what you need to do is line everything up. Just get a couple of threads in. The bottom or the top doesn't really matter what you do first, but the most important thing is you get a couple of threads in everything and get it lined up before you tighten anything. There's a bit of grease left over, so it's going to wipe that, get that out of the way so it can't cause us problems. Now, right, what you also want to do now is spin the disc around, make sure the disc spins, make sure there's no grease on the disc anywhere, because you don't want that. Other thing is, after you've done one brake, go inside your car and pump your brake pedal to push the piston back, push the piston forward, because otherwise, if you don't do it, you'll drive out and you'll have no brakes at all, and believe me, even 5 miles an hour with no brakes isn't nice. So you want to definitely make sure you do that. And the last thing we need to do is put this on. Also, when you put, especially like we're doing, we're putting pads front and back, you might feel your brake pedal a little bit spongy compared to what it was. It just takes a while for the new pads to actually bed in properly. You might not notice so much if you're only doing one, but because we're doing both, you'll just notice it a lot more. Now, the way I find is easiest to put them in is just get one end in first, and then sometimes you can literally bend it and push it down at the same time, which I can't this time. But another thing you can do is just get it in a little bit, hold it in with your finger, and then push it round the top of the caliper. Again. Yeah, now that worked. Sometimes that doesn't. Sometimes you start needing to get pliers and stuff. And just make sure they're home. And that's it. What we're going to do now is we're going to do the back and then sorted. Right, now we're on the back ones. Very similar. Kind of similar setup, similar way the anti-rattle clip is, similar way it's actually bolted on. The only difference is we have to wind this one back. So the first thing I want to do again is take off this clip, which that seems to be kind of seized. Yeah, and that's the way you know it's seized, when it doesn't move. That should move kind of within it. Oh, it does. Right, this one is seized, but it's moving. It's not too bad. So hopefully with a bit of wiggling, we'll get this out. You have to be careful because you can very easily snap this. It'd be easier to turn it once we actually get the caliper off. It's also missing the two little things to actually stop shit getting into the bolts, which is kind of important because it means if you can't get the Allen key all the way in and flat, it could spin round the bolt and then you're in trouble. We don't need the extension on the back. We're okay. We've got one off. And we've got two off. Now, same thing again, you want to clean these just like we did the fronts. Right, so sometimes these can be a little bit stuck because obviously you can't release the caliper piston part. So just get a little lever bar and just one side and then the other side, just very gently kind of wiggle it out. So just careful that doesn't get in the way. Bit of a wiggle and we should get it out. And there we go. So you just have to be careful, you don't want to damage any of the rubber there. But now we should be able to again get the actual pads out. There's one. And again, these weren't gone, but they were close, so we're just replacing them. Now hopefully this is out. We should be able to maybe twist this, yeah, a little bit more. But to be fair, we don't really need it out, we just need it out the way. As regards a wind back tool, I've got an air tool, but there's loads of different ones out there and they can be quite cheap, up to obviously quite expensive. So just need to move that out of the way. Line up the two little holes of the caliper, push the air, and that best thing about this one is it keeps pressure on it while you twist it, and it just makes your life so much easier. Now again, it should go back nice and easy. You can see how easy this is going back. I'm not struggling, and it'll go back. I think these ones stop. Some just keep spinning, but they're not going back any further, and some just stop. And I'm sure this one just stops, but maybe not. So it just keeps spinning, but I can see it is not going back anymore. So we can stop, press the button, release the air, and there we go. And there it is. Now, the tool used for this one is just a standard tool. There's loads of different little connections in the box. This is just a standard one that was on it. lines up with the two little holes on the piston. So these are our back pads, and you can see one of them's got this like little springy clip on and one of them hasn't. This springy clip has to go to the back and this one goes to the front. It's important you get them right. Same thing again, I'm just buttoning up the two ends. Don't forget, give this a good wire brush. Put one in. Same again, butter up the ends. Now, once it's in, you can then go for the middle. Same with that one. Just put it all over. Sorted. Now this is when you hope you've actually pushed back the piston enough, because it can be frustrating if you haven't. But as we can see, that is fitted on nicely. Same thing again. Moly grease for the pins. Line it up, push it in, and make sure you line it up. Get a couple of turns in before you fully tighten any of them, just so you know you've definitely got it. There we go. And then put your little anti-rattle clip back on. And there we go, sorted. Really kind of straightforward, nothing to it. That's front pads and discs. Sorry, front pads and back pads. And yeah, that's it. We didn't have to change the discs. Left them too much longer, we would have done, but it would cost more. But maybe once these ones are gone down, we might have to change the disc. We'll have a look at them. But that really is it. So look, hope it helps. Thumbs up and subscribe. Check out our forum and all that. And most importantly, don't forget, get your hands dirty. We'll see you for the next one.